Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. We can reveal how Albanian mafia kingpin Maxim Sela, 59, has cost UK taxpayers tens of thousands of pounds fighting deportation. Using the European Convention on Human Rights, he claims he would be at risk from rival mobsters if sent home. Sela can only now be identified after a 23-month legal battle by the Sun to challenge repeated anonymity orders by the courts. The gangster is currently out on bail. A judge initially banned the Sun from identifying the gangster, who arrived here with a false passport, to protect his human rights, but he can now be named after our lawyers fought for 23 months to remove restrictions. We can now also reveal he has been granted bail pending a decision to deport and was free to roam British streets last night. Sela was detained in the UK just days after serving half of a 25-year life sentence for murder and terrorism in Albania. He is believed to have flown here from Spain using a fake passport before launching a two-pronged attempt to stay on asylum and European human rights grounds. His asylum claim was rejected by a judge at the first-tier immigration tribunal. But a separate claim, that his life was at risk from rival gangs if he returned to Albania, was controversially accepted. It was based on the European Convention on Human Rights Article 2, which guarantees right to life, and Article 3, prohibiting torture or inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. The Home Secretary appealed against the ruling, which was subsequently found to have been an error of law. The upper-tier tribunal must now make a decision on whether Sela can stay, with a two-day hearing from March 31. Legal experts said cases like Sela's were the tip of the migrant crisis iceberg, with scams costing UK taxpayers millions. Sela was caged for masterminding the AK-47 murder of a cop and plotting to detonate a bomb at a football stadium. The shaven-headed Hardman then planned to melt into Britain's Albanian community straight after his release, but was caught on entry. Despite hearing his asylum claim was based solely on his fear of rival gangs, Judge Nicholas Aldridge granted an anonymity order in April 2023 at Hatton Cross Tribunal Centre in West London. He also refused to hear objections from Sun lawyers, who later argued that naming him was overwhelmingly in the public interest. After nearly 2 years, the Sun has finally won the battle to lift the ban, which was branded procedurally unfair and unjustified. The crime lord was initially held at Colnbrook Immigration Removal Centre near Heathrow. But Sela, who won the right to stay in the UK at an earlier hearing, is now at large after being granted bail. The saga was met with disbelief last night. Tory ex-Home Office Minister Kevin Foster said, "It's scandalous any judge could think this dangerous terrorist's rights were more important than the right to be safe in this country from dangerous men like him. It's yet another example of human rights lunacy in our courts, and the Sun should be applauded, not injuncted, for highlighting it. Instead of pandering to Mr. Sela, judges should be clearing the path to getting him out of the UK." Sela's appalling crimes date back decades. He rose through the ranks of mafia-style mob Banda I Lushnjës, which terrorized the Albanian city of Lushnjë in the late 90s. It was led by former cop Aldo Bear, who killed his main enemy Artur Deja, then cut off his head to show locals he controlled the city. He is now serving a life sentence in Albania. In April 2000, Sela masterminded the killing of cop Klenti Banu, a senior investigator in Lushnjë, who was executed outside his home with a volley of 6 shots from a Kalashnikov assault rifle. The previous month, Sela was also involved in a terror plot which saw a bomb left near Rosa Haxiu Stadium in Lushnjë. It was placed where Police Chief Sinan Mehta usually parked his car, and was fortunately deactivated. Mehta said after the chilling find, "We were looking to arrest 4 people highly dangerous. They were Alfred Shkurti, Ergin Sisi, Enver Dondolaku, and Maxim Sela." Albert Nushi, former chief of criminal police in Lushnjë, said in court, "All these 4 were organizers of killings and putting bombs at the houses of police officers." Sela was found guilty in 2012 of being a member of a criminal organization, murder, possession of weapons and ammunition, and actions related to terrorism. He then arrived in the UK 5 days after his release from jail. Sun sources in Albania revealed in March 2023 he was seeking asylum here, but we were banned from reporting the full facts. Barrister Jude Bunting KC was initially barred from speaking at the Hatton Cross hearing by Judge Aldridge. The anonymity order was finally overturned in November 2024 after Mr. Bunting successfully argued for open justice, and the judge's ruling was found to be flawed. Sela, aided by his lawyer daughter Glories, was refused permission for a judicial review. Judge Mrs. Justice Lang said, if his appeal doesn't succeed, and he is returned to Albania, his identification in these proceedings will not give rise to a materially increased risk to life. He's been the subject of media publicity on numerous occasions, and his identity, as a gang member found guilty of murder and terrorist offenses, is well known. A Home Office spokeswoman said last night, we will be challenging this appeal in the upper tribunal. Foreign nationals who commit heinous crimes should be in no doubt. We will do everything to make sure they are not free on Britain's streets, including removal from the UK at the earliest possible opportunity. Since the election, we've removed 2,925 foreign criminals, a 21% increase on the same period 12 months prior. The rain fell in heavy sheets, soaking the dark streets of London, as Detective Inspector James Calloway tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He had been hunting men like Ahmed Rahmani for years, terrorists, extremists, those who lurked in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. But tonight, the nightmare had come to an end. Rahmani was in custody. Justice had been served. Or so Calloway thought. Less than a decade later, the man responsible for the deaths of two of Calloway's closest colleagues was walking free. The night of blood. It had happened on an otherwise quiet autumn evening. Calloway had been working late at Scotland Yard when the call came in, a disturbance in Brixton, reports of a suspicious vehicle linked to known terror associates. Two officers, PC Mark Hewitt and PC Sarah Lawson, had been dispatched to investigate. Neither of them made it home that night. The dashcam footage from their patrol car still haunted Calloway. The moment they stepped out of the vehicle, Rahmani had opened fire. No warning. No mercy. The officers never even had a chance to draw their weapons. When backup arrived, Rahmani was gone, leaving behind two bleeding bodies on the pavement. The manhunt lasted weeks. Armed raids, door-to-door searches, countless sleepless nights. Rahmani was eventually caught attempting to flee the country, his face hidden beneath a forged passport, his hands stained with the blood of two innocent officers. The trial had been swift. The evidence was overwhelming. Rahmani had been sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 35 years. For Calloway, it wasn't enough, no sentence could bring back his friends, but at least justice had been served. Or so he had believed. The scandal unfolds. The headline broke like a hammer against the heart of the nation. Terrorist cop killer released after just 10 years, citing human rights law. Calloway had read it 3 times before he could even process the words. How? How was it possible? Rahmani's lawyers had argued that his continued incarceration was inhumane, that he had been rehabilitated and posed no further threat. They claimed his mental health had suffered due to prolonged solitary confinement, that his human rights had been violated in a system designed to punish rather than reform. The court had agreed. The judge cited European human rights laws that emphasized a prisoner's right to hope, the principle that no one should be condemned to die behind bars without a chance of redemption. And just like that, a terrorist who had coldly executed 2 police officers was free to roam the streets of Britain once more. Outrage and fear. The backlash was immediate. Protests erupted outside Parliament. The Police Federation condemned the decision as an insult to every officer who puts their life on the line. The families of PC Hewitt and PC Lawson were inconsolable. Mark Hewitt's widow, Rebecca, spoke through tears on live television. This man murdered my husband in cold blood. He planned it. He waited for his moment. And now we're supposed to believe he's changed? That he deserves to be free? Where is our justice? Where are our rights? Calloway couldn't watch anymore. He slammed the remote down and grabbed his coat. He needed answers. A system in crisis. In the days that followed, Calloway found himself staring into the dark abyss of Britain's justice system. He learned that Rahmani had been granted early release through a controversial legal loophole, aided by a network of human rights lawyers who had built their careers defending criminals under the banner of justice. They had argued that Rahmani had undergone extensive de-radicalization programs, that he had repented, that he now wished to contribute to society. They cited cases from across Europe, instances where convicted murderers and terrorists had been rehabilitated and reintegrated. And the government, eager to appease certain factions and avoid another drawn-out legal battle, had relented. But Calloway knew better. He knew that men like Romani didn't change. He knew that justice had been trampled in the name of political correctness, that the rights of criminals were being placed above the rights of victims.